The man told them that it had been a barren land many years ago. The farmers worked hard to grow something there, but they only got disappointing results. Then there was an innocent woman who had always dreamed. For years she had always tried to plant countless flower seeds. However, not even a sprig of seeds managed to grow. After the woman died, the man inherited her desire, and somehow, the flower grew to become the flower field it is today. Not long after, there was a very big windstorm. At the same time, Seaton had managed to find data from the man. Suddenly lightning struck, then the man turned into a destroyer. Aji and Duola tried to attack the man, but his body was so hard that their weapons were destroyed. Miawu couldn't do much to beat that person either. Then Duola and Aji asked them for time to summon another weapon, while Miawu bought time and distracted the destroyer. However, Miawu was hit by a very strong kick from the man until she was bounced. Seaton confronted him by showing data that reads his name as Moto, a 26-year-old criminal who is an international fugitive. Hearing Seaton's words, Moto felt very angry and kept trying to attack him. On the other hand, Aji and Duola have felt a great power flowing in their bodies. Duola has also shared memories with Aji, so he only needs to fight without thinking. Long story short, when the fight took place, Aji managed to find the core weakness of Moto. He immediately stabbed him and made him die. But Moto said that he could not die because he was a monster. Since birth, he has been cursed and possessed by an evil spirit called a parasitic spirit. They ate blood, flesh, and brains so that his mother died shortly after giving birth to him, while his father ended his life due to mental disorders. Everyone in the village considered him a disturbing monster. Besides that, he was also considered a disaster for the village, so that all the residents exiled him behind a rock and tied him with iron chains. But he can still survive by eating soil. Until one day, a girl gave him a lump of rice and accompanied him there until they both grew up together. After that, the residents came back to meet Moto and attacked him. Even the residents killed the girl. Because of that incident, Moto finally transformed into an evil monster and flattened the village. Soon a group of exterminators came, then Washin put a seal on his body so he could feel at ease. It turned out that what was stabbed by Aji was a parasitic seal that was once made by Washin. So when his seal is destroyed, Moto will lose control again and turn into a monster form. Then they attacked Moto together with various powers and means, but they all couldn't hurt Moto one bit. Even Aji was unconscious because of Moto's attack. When Aji entered his subconscious, he saw a crystal stone sealed and chained there. When he tried to touch it, a very bright light suddenly appeared, making Duola in the real world change form. Duola can defeat Moto with the Heaven Judgment attack. For a moment, Aji could see Duola's form, who had half goddess and half demon wings. Even though Duola has defeated Moto, Aji is sure their next journey will be more dangerous because other exterminators will hunt them down. In the evening, the exterminators came to see Moto's body. Washin then reread the events that happened to Moto, so he knew that Aji and his friends had defeated him. On the way, they all rested while Seaton treated their wounds. Soon, Seaton's cell phone gave a dangerous warning because it detected a very strong spirit movement. Sure enough, not long after, the members of the extermination came and attacked Seaton's car. Then one of them shot Miawu and Seaton, while Aji, who was seriously injured, couldn't do anything. Then they cut Aji's body into several pieces. Aji went back into his subconscious. Before long, a man in a cloak appeared who told him that the room was the divider between space and time. He then informed that at this time, Aji had died. Then the man showed the incident shortly before Aji and his friends died. It turned out that after their death, the annihilations absorbed their spirits and powers. Aji immediately blamed himself because he couldn't do anything during the incident. Then the man gave him 3 minutes to help them all. Before that, he advised Aji to remember after it was all over. The man will wait for Aji in a place called the Devil's Furnace. After the man opens his robe, Aji calls him father. Instantly Aji realized and was in 3 minutes before the destroyers attacked them. He hastily made a plan to save himself and all of them. Long story short, thanks to Aji's plan, they all survived. But Aji thought that they didn't have much time to relax because the exterminators would soon find and overtake them. In addition, Aji also had to pick up Hana before the exterminators got there first. The next day they went to Hana's house, but they couldn't find Hana and her plant spirit. Aji finds a letter left by Hana, while Seaton gets information about good and bad news. Seaton tells the bad news first, just in case. The bad news is that the exterminators are nearby, and the good news is that he can borrow Hana's helicopter, which they can use to go very far away. In the helicopter, Aji reads the letter saying Hana is waiting for him in the Devil's Furnace, where the place is the same as the place his father talked about before. Miawu said that she had heard of the place because when she was looking for her older brother, someone said that that person had come to the Devil's Furnace. It was a place of experimentation to make a person much stronger. Seaton also knows that the place has been a legendary and sacred place for summoners since ancient times. There is the grandest arena ever. In ancient times, only people who could escape the demon furnace could become a full-fledged summoners. Not only destroyers, even Harun and his friends practiced there. Some call that place heaven, and some think it is hell. According to legend, one can find extremely mysterious spiritual energy and treasures in the deepest part of the demon furnace. Aji then showed them the contents of Hana's letter to get a clue where it was. Sitan managed to find the location, but it was very far. But if they go there by helicopter, they will arrive within 7 hours. After halfway through the journey, they had to face several obstacles. They had to pass through an ocean with strong winds, and countless ships and planes had been lost in the Sea of Death. Luckily, their helicopter made it through the storm. But suddenly, Shadow comes and attacks their helicopter. Fortunately, Sitan managed to turn the plane debris into a flying robot that took them there. It turned out that it wasn't just Shadow who attacked them, but all the members of the Annihilation were there. The robot was destroyed because it was attacked repeatedly by flame, so Aji and his friends fell onto an island. The destroyers immediately appeared before those who had just landed. Suddenly there is a female voice named Bonnie, who is a member of the board. She says that Aji and his friends have violated several rules, such as reckless helicopter driving, group brawls, misuse of ammunition, environmental pollution, and others. Their actions have violated 12 existing rules on the island. Flame arrogantly points her gun at Bonnie and says she doesn't know who they are. But Bonnie reversed her question. Did they not know where she was at this time? Bonnie tells them they are all in the Devil's Furnace. Then Bonnie tells the island's first rule, no killing outside the arena, no matter if they have a grudge, and orders the exterminators to leave immediately. Even if they were the head of state or the richest person in the world, everyone had to obey the island's rules. Then she appointed a few extermination members who belonged to Devil Island graduates. They should have known the rules. Shadow is very upset to hear Bonnie's words, but Washin restrains her from attacking her because everyone on the island must respect Bonnie. So the destroyers decided to retreat and leave the island. Aji and his friends felt very relieved because, thanks to Bonnie, the exterminators finally left them. Bonnie welcomed Aji and his friends' presence, then waited for them at the registration section. They immediately headed to the registration area on foot in the sun's scorching heat. Soon a man named Gao Deng appeared and offered them a ride. Gao Deng said that in ancient times guards and destroyers had fought for centuries. The flames of war had burned their hearts until wars broke out in various parts of the world. Then to reduce the war, the two factions negotiated a truce. Then the ancient summoners teamed up to create the island. Many battles are united in an arena that will be resolved according to fair rules. The simple explanation, the island is an Olympic island for the summoners in the world. Sitan asked, what if there are people who deliberately violate the rules on the island? Gao Deng replies that no one dares to do that because the island is a sacred place. Anyone who breaks the rules will become a common enemy between guards and destroyers. Even the strongest person wouldn't want to be an enemy to all the summoners in the world. On the way, Gao Deng stopped his journey at a bar. He then paired a secret green drink for those whose bodies became fresh after drinking it and healed their wounds. But the drink also makes them addicted, so the bill is very large. But Gao Deng said he would pay it, but it was calculated as a debt. After exploring the place, they arrived at a settlement and a market with many sellers of goods and lodging. The people who were there were all summoners. Then they decided to buy clothes. Arriving at the clothing store, they saw various kinds of hero costumes. Gao Deng returned to pay it and counted it as a debt, but he actually had certain reasons for doing so. Finally, they arrived at the Devil's Furnace. Many people from all over the world had gathered to take the exam. Then came Bonnie's voice telling them how to register, where they just had to enter through one of the 4 big doors, then they were automatically registered. But at door number 1, they have to pay 2 million to be able to register. Their Sitan preceded them by paying through his cell phone. It turned out that he had embezzled several personal accounts of Mexican drug dealers. Then at door number 2, only beautiful people were allowed to enter, so Duola changed her form into an adult woman and took Aji. Unfortunately, when Miawu tried to enter, she was rejected because the guards there considered her not beautiful. At door number 3 was a test of strength, so an irritated Miawu was able to damage the entrance so she could go through door number 3. Door number 4 is a special route for famous politicians such as important officials and heads of state. Gao Deng turned out to be one of the most famous criminals in the world. Then Bonnie appears and asks those who escaped gathering at a point. There were 100 floors, and they would start from the ground floor. It turned out that Gao Deng had taken the exam for 5 years but could only pass to the 9th floor. On the other hand, Aji wondered what floor his father would be waiting for. When they arrived on the ground floor, the place looked like a very luxurious hotel. They are allowed to wear anything and eat anything for free. Before leaving, Bonnie informed them that the exam would start tomorrow, but Gao Deng and his 2 friends already knew that the actual exam had started from now on. This test examiner is the #1 trap teacher in the world. He is very adept at trapping his victims. Gao Deng then remembers when the examiner poisoned all the food, causing all the participants to vomit and have diarrhea. Then they all decided to withdraw from the match. Then the examiner also put a lot of leeches in the bathtub. When the participants were resting in their respective rooms, Aji felt something strange. It turned out that the room was a barbed wall trap that would crush them. Dora tried to destroy the wall, but her weapon was damaged. When the trap almost crushed them both, Aji asked Dora to bring up the all-in-one key, so they both managed to escape. Meanwhile, Miaowu survived because she changed her form into a cockroach. Several other participants also survived the first hurdle. When they arrived at the door to Sitan's room, they saw a stream of blood coming out of the cavity under the door. Suddenly they were hysterical and thought he was dead, but he appeared before them and managed to get out through the small chimney. Then the examiner told them that this exam's rules are very easy. That is, there are no rules. Victory can be achieved with one condition, namely, leaving the hotel alive. All participants seemed difficult to pass this exam because there were so many traps in various corners of the hotel. Suddenly, a big hole was blocking their way, and Dora and Aji rushed to save some of the other participants. But the examiner thought that even if they helped weak participants at that time, surely the weak participants would fall on other tests. The exam continued, and it was seen that some participants stopped because they were trapped by the examiner's trap. Meanwhile, Aji and his friends had arrived at a door, where on the door were written several words that made them feel confused. But Aji didn't want to back down anymore, so he broke through the door by kicking it. The door opened, and an examiner named Reynold was there. It wasn't long before another participant appeared who was annoyed with Reynold. But when they were about to attack him, the participants were hit by his trap, so they failed the first exam stage. As for the participants who passed the exam, he gave each participant a treasure box filled with gold. But when Sitan opens his treasure box, he finds a box of bombs that explodes, causing them all to fall into a hole. Then Bonnie informed them that they were now on the second floor. Bonnie is the examiner there. She says that their next test will be a speed race. Then it looks like a large and long car racing arena in which the race rules have no limits. To pass this exam, they only need to run 20 laps, and the 15 participants who reach the finish line first are the winners. Participants may use any method to be the fastest. Aji began to be wary because the participants who were left behind had realized something. They don't need to be the fastest, they just need to make the other participants slower. Aji realized he was being targeted by someone, then he turned around to return that person's attack. Meanwhile, Miaowu looks difficult to deal with the poison gas attack. On the other hand, a squirrel can control the tornado to blow the poison gas. All participants did various things and ways to win the exam. When a man in armor wanted to kill Sitan, fortunately, there was a man who helped him and counterattacked the man in armor until he was crushed together with his armor. Long story short, after they had done several battles, now there were only 15 participants left. They all just need to reach the finish line to win, but Aji and the other participants are still racing and want to be first. In the end, the first winner of the test was Miaowu. On the third floor, there is a cooking test. Aji feels excited to pass the exam because cooking is his hobby. After his cooking, he immediately gave it to the jury to taste. It turned out that all the judges liked and praised his cooking. Meanwhile, Miaowu, who is not good at cooking, decides to serve fruits that have been arranged neatly and aesthetically. On the other hand, the members of Annihilation were training for battle. Suddenly, one of their female friends stopped their practice. She told them that she had tried to get into the Devil's Furnace but couldn't penetrate or dig into it, until she finally went to a market to buy an antique television. It turned out that the television was broadcasting a match in the arena of the Devil's Furnace. They even watched the match and forgot about their practice. Meanwhile, the participants successfully passed the exam in the Devil's Furnace arena. They moved to the fourth floor, where there would be a music and karaoke exam. Still, the atmosphere immediately became chaotic because there was the sound of a woman's guitar and a child's booming cry, which was very deafening. On the other hand, Flame, who heard the sound, immediately destroyed the television. Soon Washin and his masked male friends came to meet those who were watching a television program. The masked man's friends suggest that Washin let them go to the island while on vacation, but they don't forget to bring someone who will be a surprise for Aji and his friends. Meanwhile, the elders gathered in a room with Bonnie on the Devil's Furnace Island. Then she informed them about Group 7. Out of 90 participants now, only 15 participants are left, namely Gao Deng, Lichard, Squirrel Ninja, Monoka Hero, John Jiming, Li Qinjiao, Frank Einstein, Baby Hopi, Devil Lipstick, Poison Expert, Mummy, Sitan, Miaowu, Aji, and Dora. So far, the participants had 106 energy fluctuations, while Bonnie had accumulated as much as 30,000 tons of spiritual energy. The elders were overjoyed that their plan was going well, so one of the elders told her to activate self-sacrifice. At the end of the story, the goddess Pandora is seen sleeping. She is the summoner of all spirits. They intend to awaken the goddess using spiritual power. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that sometimes the enemy can turn into an angel who suddenly always helps us. But we must be aware of the kindness of someone who comes suddenly. Because of true goodness, we can feel and judge ourselves with heart and logic.